Hey, amen, amen. Hey, it's been a minute since I've been with you guys on the Silver Lining Recovery Show podcast. I'm still your host, Levance Lining Sr. Still sober after 18 years, 2 months. Shout out again to my son, Levance Lining Jr., for putting this track together for me.
Grant me the
Serenity prayer began in the rooms of recovery. In fact, the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous started about 45 minutes from here in Akron, Ohio with Bill and Bob. Prayer is important, but prayer without works, without you doing something to activate that prayer, it's just wasted words, tinkling brass, crashing cymbals with no guaranteed results. How many of us have prayed for mass shootings to stop and all these things to come to an end, and ain't that happen? I'm gonna ask God, when I get to heaven, what happened? What happened to that prayer? But what it shows is that God is allowing mankind, meaning men and women, who are created in God's image according to the Bible, to have our way with this planet, and so while we're praying for God to stop the killing, all we have to do as humans and legislators is vote, to bring weapons of mass destruction to an end. Only people that need those are people that are on the battlefield. It's amazing that most people that love guns, shoot guns, etc., never served in the military, but you want to be an action hero on the street. No, where were you at when we were in Afghanistan for 20 years? Where were you? We don't need Rambo on the street, or Sambo, or Sambro. We don't need you on the street. We needed you when we were at war. And guess what? Could have gotten a paycheck, benefits, etc. We want to wear camouflage in the streets. So I don't understand. I understand. I get it, because guess what? I'm the guy that was a drug addict for 22 years, and a lot of people don't understand that. See, I got my Browns gear on. I got on my man, Miles Flash Garrett's jersey. Shout him out, shout the Browns out for another win, and shout him out for acting the fool on the field, for finally showing up with all of his athleticism and his skill set, and really showing people what happens when you work out and dedicate yourself to your physical health, like he has. This guy jumped over an offensive lineman and was able to have enough athletic ability and presence to then block a field goal. So, shout out to Miles. Now he's also a part minority owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers. So that's how you invest your money. You don't buy jewelry. You don't go on spending sprees and spend up all your money. You build asset. You build wealth. And so now, as long as he holds that minority share in the Cleveland Cavaliers, he can pass that on to his family members, his kids, whomever, in the future. So, smart move. Whoever is advising him is very smart. I got an issue before we talk about recovery. For people that wear jerseys, and go to the games, whether it be basketball, hockey, etc., you really think you become that player when you put that jersey on. Took my family to a game, Browns game last year against the Chargers. And guys are walking around, with their favorite players' jerseys on, tough, because you have a jersey on don't mean you're in NFL. Don't mean I'm Myles Garrett, because I have this jersey on, it's just a jersey. Doesn't make you any tougher than you were before you slipped it on. Doesn't make me run any faster or slower. In my case, I'm not Myles Garrett, but I'm, shouting him out. and showing my support for my team because I have the jersey on. So when you do cosplay, you dress up. Whether it be religious clergy wear attire. Some people I always see the little kid, that always wanted to dress up, like a pastor or a bishop or, some spiritual figurehead that they wanted to be. And they couldn't wait to do it as an adult. And so, they may go through ministerial training, higher education, etc. But they just couldn't wait to get that gear on. Like it's the gear that makes you who you are in God. No, it's your calling, first of all, and your track record. What is your success rate in your calling? I haven't been on here to record in a while because guess what? I was dealing with real life situations with people, live and in person, hands-on type of recovery. And, you can't do that online. Online is a supplement, not a substitute for recovery. Same thing, spiritual, etc. These things are supplements, not substitutes for being in person. You can't fight a fire online. I don't need an EMS person to invite me to a Zoom link to I'm having a heart attack, and they're gonna yeah, here's the Zoom link, click on this, we'll be glad to help you. Well, how you gonna give me the defibrillator through Zoom? That's what I want to know. How you gonna help me through Zoom? And so again, online access, these things that we do are substitutes, not substitutes, they're supplements. They go along with, they support the in-person interaction with people. So this week I wanted to talk about ethics in recovery, ethics in treatment. Ethics not only cover the addict, the person seeking help, but also the person administering the help, the professional. The person that the addicted person, the substance use disorder person, the mental illness facing person is looking to support them in their efforts to recover. One thing we can't do, and the main thing, is have a personal relationship with anybody that we are helping. Many of you know, I talk about my brother Robert, my younger brother, who has been in his own substance use disorder for decades. We actually used together, and I decided to stop. Doesn't make me any better than him. It just means I got tired quicker because he was younger, and he was still out there, and I knew ethically I could only do so much for him because my heart gets in the way. We have to understand that. Even in the church, we're dealing with recovery. In the rooms, we're dealing with recovery. Sometimes your heart blurs the lines of people getting well. I can't want you to get help more than you want to get that help. What we have to do, and what is hard to do, because we want to see people through from the cradle to the grave in their recovery from an illness or substance use disorder. We want to babysit. We want to walk them through it because our heart is involved in that. And that's why it's such an ethical issue. Not to do that, to be hands off, to turn them on to a trusted professional that can help them. You have to take your hands off of it and do what we just talked about earlier. Pray. Pray that serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Because if you're not using wisdom, you're probably doing what is dumb, which is thinking your presence is going to stop somebody from mental illness, stop somebody from substance use disorder. When I finally stopped in August of 2005, I knew it was a miracle because I thought I would use cocaine forever. I had a love affair with cocaine because cocaine took me out of Levance. I had no responsibility, no accountability. I could be who I wanted to be. I could talk how I wanted to talk. I could talk to people how I wanted to. I really cosplayed and put on a whole different street character when I was using. It was escapism for me, escaping from the normalcy and the stresses of life that I couldn't deal with at the time. But I found out that life happens whether you're using it or not. And so again, I've said this before, as you know, when you're drinking, popping pills, drugging, shooting heroin, sniffing crystal meth, whatever you're doing to escape the issue, one of the main things you talk about while you're using is that same issue. So are you really escaping it, or are you just putting band-aids on the bullet wound? So we had to man up, woman up, human up, adulting up, and face those issues, unpack that baggage, deal with it, and know that you can have a better outcome dealing with it sober, clean and sober, rather than using. So that's what happens. Our mind tells us, oh yeah, just take this drug, everything will be better. How people say at work, oh, I'm stressing, I need a cigarette. Well, when does a cigarette help relieve stress? The doctor's prescribing, pack of Newports, pack of Marlboros. Oh yeah, you're having a lot of stress, John. Let me get you a pack of Lucky Strikes and smoke those and see if it makes you better. Well, if like I know, nicotine is a stimulant, so it's not going to make your stress better. It's going to create its own level of nicotine stress. You'll be nicking. Nick at Night. Nickelodeon. Remember Nickelodeon? Sponsored by nicotine. So, whatever excuse you find, to use what you want to use, which your body's become chemically addicted to, you're going to do it. You're going to do it. You're going to find a reason to do that activity. So ethics are so important because ethics are the glue that hold recovery, therapy, treatment, all of those things together are held together by ethics. Not being in an intimate relationship with somebody that you're helping, somebody you're counseling, spiritually, pastors, ministers, evangelists, apostles, prophets, whatever you call yourself, not crossing those ethical lines of getting in a relationship with somebody that is weak. It's easy to do. Somebody's weak. They're coming out of a mental health crisis. They're coming out of a substance use disorder or in the midst of it. And they come to you for help, and you manipulate that into some kind of sexual relationship or, online relationship or, whatever. It's ethically wrong. It's spiritually wrong. And guess what? There's some consequences you got coming. You guys know I always say God lets you pick your sin, but he gets to pick your consequences. And guess what? The consequences are always going to be much bigger than what you did to earn it. Because again, our actions are seeds, and seeds create consequences. Anybody knows how little an apple seed is versus how big that apple tree is. So you think about the actions that you do are planting seeds. Some seeds are good, some seeds are not so good. And so don't be shocked when that consequence tree shows up and bears fruit. So I encourage you, spiritual leaders, recovery, treatment, clinical leaders, to do not cross those ethical lines because it ruins all your credibility. If you're going to share, if you have a B-roll story, a back roll story about your own mental health issues and your own substance use disorders and your victory over those things, share it in a safe setting. Because what it does, once you share that with that person you're helping, you become a peer. You become a peer because you come from the same place. You've done some of the same things, similar situation. So now you're a peer. So now you have to become a peer supporter. And guess what? If you don't accomplish the ethical separation, then that person may potentially use your story against you in hindsight. The minute they get pissed off about you not doing what they want you to do or how they wanted you to do it, guess what? They're going to be like, oh yeah, he told me he was on the pipe. So how he going to tell me what to do? He was a crackhead. All I did was heroin. So, again, be careful about your ethical boundaries. Make sure they're in place. Make sure you don't cross them. If If you're tempted, hand that person off to another professional and get away. Back off, especially when it's friends or family. You can't have your heart and your head and your degree or your certificate stand between you and helping someone. Sure, we have relationships with people. I love my brother dearly, but I knew I had to keep him at a distance so I wouldn't get tricked by my heart and do things that I know were ethically wrong because I want to see my brother do well. Well, my brother had to learn to fight for his own recovery like we fight for addiction. How many out there in treatment, aftercare, IOP, sober living, doesn't matter. Guess what? Some of you guys are in situations where you don't want to be. Nobody started smoking weed 20 years ago and figured, 2023, I'll be in a sober living house. I'll be in treatment. And it all started with a joint. But guess what? We're here. We're here. And how do you get out of it? Again, you change one thing. Everything. You don't blame the system. You don't blame the people. You don't blame your peers. They're there like you there. All of y'all in jail together. Or, college. Like you said, I'm going to college for 28 days. But you can't blame the people for enforcing their rules that you signed off on when you got there, for enforcing their policies, again, that you signed off on when you got there, because it makes you uncomfortable. There's nothing more uncomfortable than active addiction. You survived active addiction. You walked the streets of Idaho, Wyoming, New Mexico, Florida, Philadelphia, Camden, New Jersey, Trenton, New Jersey, Cleveland, Ohio, Boston, Massachusetts, North Carolina. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. Locations don't matter. Once you pick up a substance to put in your body, don't matter where you are, the outcome's going to be the same. Jails, institutions, and death. Doesn't change. So I encourage you, those of you that are in those settings, not to complain. Don't get mad. Make adjustments in your life. Hunger and thirst and fight after your recovery like we fought to use. Like we fought to get high. Like we manipulated the system. We manipulated our friends, our spouses, our family members, the system. Whatever you did, it's been done before. But it shows you have the skill set, the mental acuity to survive. If you can survive active addiction, recovery is a piece of cake. Because you ain't high. You're not geeked anymore, you're not stuck. So how much more successful can you be with a clear mind? Give yourself time. Give yourself a break. Let your mind clear. Let the fog clear totally out of your mind. Give yourself a break. The first thing your addiction wants to do is to use again, because he knows, your inner man, the inner addict knows, once I get him or her using, I got him. I can take my foot off the gas pedal because they're going to be in autopilot, and a Tesla driving by itself. That's what your addiction does to you. Your addiction is waiting to take you on another ride, and it may be your last one. So be careful. Everybody has another use in them. Everybody doesn't have another shot at recovery. And so you have to figure out how important it is for you. If not, you waste a good get high time sitting where you're sitting. You're taking a bed, a seat, a chair, a couch from someone that may be more serious and ready to recover than you are. Only you know that. And one thing I love to say this, my brother, who's been sober now since April, gets this now. It's just like church. You know a sinner when you see one. And when the light has come on and a person doesn't want to be a sinner anymore. Same thing in recovery. I talk to addicts all the time, recovered and those in active addiction. And guess what? I know when the light is on. There's a saying in the rooms of recovery, I know me when I see me. So no matter how good you think you are, how good your lie is, how good your manipulation is, we see through it. We see through it. We see the addict. We know the addict is talking and not the real person behind that addiction mask. We see it. And so don't worry about it. Change it. Change it. Want recovery more than you want addiction. Some of y'all not ready yet, and that's okay. It's okay. Get out of the way. Let somebody else recover. Get on back out there and let the streets continue to mistreat you like they have the last decade or 2 or 3 or 4, however long you've been using. Your misery can be refunded complete without a receipt. You can get all that back with no proof of purchase. Trust me. So I'm saying all that to say this. Treat recovery like it's important. Like your life is on the line, because it is. It is. You can't get mad at somebody's rules, regulations, and how they run their treatment center, their sober living, their IOP, when you brought you there. They were there before you got there. So nobody drafted you and made you come to IOP. Your substance use disorder was the gateway that brought you into their program. So don't try to change the program, change you. Change how you respond to the program. You know, you're always going to find something to complain about. And yeah, some stuff ain't right. I agree. I'm the first to tell you, I know some treatment centers that are mistreatment centers. But if somebody's ready to get help, somebody's ready to stop, they can still make it. Even in those not so good treatment centers. You know why? Because the light is on. And I want to do anything I can to stop this pain of addiction. I want to do anything I can do not to feel like I felt last night. You know? And so once you get to that space, guys, it doesn't matter what treatment center you're in, what they're doing, because all I'm focused on, I got my blinders on, and I'm focused on the end result is stopping this substance from ruining my life. I want my children back. You know, I want my career back. I want my mama back, my daddy back, my wife, my husband, you know, whoever. I want it back. So it doesn't matter, because guess what? It didn't matter when you were an addict and you went anywhere to use. You know, I know some addicts that are bougie. Oh, I don't go out in the projects. Oh, only use in the suburbs. Guess what? Eventually you will go anywhere. Your addiction will take you places you never thought you'd be. Smoke cigarettes behind people you wouldn't even talk to. You know, share a couch, share a chair for 4 days with somebody that you wouldn't even light their cigarette if they asked you. That's what addiction does to you. It lowers your standards, lowers your ethics, it lowers your norms and mores, the things that we use. The social contract is done. It's gone. There is no social contract in addiction. There is none. It's whatever I can do to you to make me feel better, to make me get more drugs, then that's what I'm going to do. Doesn't matter. If I told you I love you yesterday, guess what? It ain't personal. It's just business. I got to get one in me by any means necessary. You know, so I encourage you church folks out there to put some programming in place, some non-judgmental, safe space type of thing for people to unpack their issue. You know, because so many people in church come from mental illness and substance use disorder, but they don't talk about it. You know, because now they played cosplay, dress up. They put on the preacher robe. They put on the minister collar. You know, and so now I've arrived because I look the part. Well, because I got this Myles Garrett jersey on don't mean I can go play for the Browns. You know? Doesn't mean that. It means I have on a costume. You know? Halloween's coming up on Tuesday. I have a costume on. Doesn't make me Myles Garrett. Y'all know that. I'd be fat Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is on the sidelines on oxygen. So guess what? Because you have on the accoutrements of ministry, the accoutrements of a baseball player, because you have on a hockey jersey, don't mean you can get on the ice and score a goal. Doesn't mean that. But guess what? You have on your flesh and you have your brain. That makes you human, and that makes you able to recover. You can recover if you do the work. You have to want it more than the person, the family member, the kid, the spouse, the clinical professional, the sponsor, the counselor, whoever you've been interacting with, you have to want it more than them. If you won't stop using and you're losing your kids are on the line and that's not a catalyst enough for you to stop, then what can I tell you to convince you should go to treatment? What can I tell you to convince you to stop if you losing custody of your kids wasn't enough? You ain't ready. People who are stranded in the ocean with no life preserver can't tell you how to help them. They have to accept the help. That's going to get them out of that situation. Everybody has an idea of what treatment should look like, what recovery should look like. Let's start at step one. You are powerless over that substance. You have no control. And that's the hardest thing to do as a human being, guys, is to say, I can't control myself. My best thinking got me in this jackpot situation. How smart I am, how cute I am, how handsome I am, got me in the situation. And guess what? It can't get me out of it. Prayer doesn't make anybody recover. It's the effort by the person that is suffering from mental illness or substance use disorder that helps them to recover. The prayers are nice. They sound great. But if prayers were the only thing we needed to help people recover, then everybody be recovered. The first time you say the serenity prayer in a meeting, or somebody prays for you going to the meeting or after the meeting or during the meeting, you're done. You have to put work into recovery. And guess what? It's not as tough as addiction. Nobody ever had to, shouldn't have to, have sex with somebody in the alley to get 30 days clean. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't happen like that. Shouldn't happen that way. I'm sure it probably has, but that's not the norm. That's an outlier. So if you want to recover, you have to let somebody else make suggestions to you that may not be to your liking. I've been a man a long time. I joined the Army when I was 19 as a teenager. And the hardest thing for me to do is to admit to another person that I think may not be as smart as me, as handsome as me, whatever, to tell me what to do. How you gonna tell me what to do? I'm grown. Yet I'm in your treatment center and all my clothes are in the garbage bag, but I'm grown. So what is grown really? Grown is realizing the situation you're in, taking suggestions and changing that situation. I did it. 22 years in the streets, and not just any streets. I was in the worst streets in America. New Jersey, New York, Philadelphia, Cleveland, Ohio, Atlanta, Georgia, Philadelphia. I did it. And I survived it. And I believe, sometimes I would pray going to the crack house. But guess what? God didn't move the crack house. When I got there, crack was still there. And so I still used. But until you put footwork with that prayer, those prayers are just prayers. They sound good. And sometimes those prayers work in concert with your actions. Then they act as a support for you to kind of hold you up while you're going through recovery from mental illness or substance use disorder. But prayer by itself is not enough. Because how many times we've heard our Congress, our president, say thoughts and prayers to the victims. Well, it's too late, because if thoughts and prayers were working, they would have never been victims. That's what I'm thinking. How do we prevent these things from happening with thoughts and prayers? How come the shooter don't accidentally kill himself before he start killing people? That's what I'm praying for. I'm praying for the murder-suicide to commit suicide first and then think he can do the murder. That's what I'm praying for. So, saying all to say this, guys, I love you. Keep reaching out with your comments and your questions. Find me on social media, silverliningrecovery822 at Gmail. That's my email. I can't promise I want to get on here every week, but guess what? Saving lives is more important than keeping a schedule. I'm about saving lives. You can't challenge people to stop using because some of them have a chemical imbalance. After using too much, too long, for too often, they can't stop on their own. But that's immaturity. But tell somebody, I challenge you not to use. Yep, okay, we're good. I challenge you not to breathe for a week. See if you can pull that off. Mission impossible. But we can recover if you have the capacity to be honest with yourself and realize you don't know everything, and don't get offended by something someone else suggests that you do that is not already on the tip of your tongue, or you're not already thinking about it. Because guess what? If you had all the answers, you wouldn't be where you were. You wouldn't be in treatment. You wouldn't be in sober living. You would not be where they found you, where you ended up, And so it's okay. And I'm telling you from personal experience, I did it. I did it. I had to let somebody shorter than me, skinnier than me, not as tough as me, tell me what to do. But guess what? Once the light came on, it didn't matter. If I bought drugs from a 13-year-old named Lil Black, then I could listen to somebody else named Keith. You know what I'm saying? So, ladies and gentlemen, give yourself a break. Pray. That's right. Pray together. Understand that your story, no matter how tragic, how desperate it is not unique. You're not in this alone. There are many people that are recovered and on their way to being recovered. It's a process. You didn't become addicted in a day. Recovery doesn't happen in a day. Steps at a time. Just like the steps you took to go get that thing that you wanted to get, you kept going back. So recovery works for mental health and substance use disorder when you keep going back. Keep going back and watch your life get better. Huh? One day at a time. I love you. God loves you best. And let's see what
grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can.
I'm Miles Garrett.
And the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
I'm going out to tackle the mailman tomorrow with his jersey on. All right, episode 7, Silver Lining Recovery Show podcast. LaVance Lonnie Sr. Shout out to my wife Tina, Lonnie kids, Crystal, Ashley, Terrell, LaVance Jr., Kayla, and Robert, and Pepper, my Shih Tzu poodle. Love y'all. My mom, Joyce Johnson. Holla.